because I really liked the song, and I still like the song, but it sounded really minimalist and stripped down, and so I was a bit disappointed when the album rolled around and they didn't, beef it up. And I'm not talking beefy like Playing the Angel. I know that they were going for something very specific on that record, and I do like that record. That had more of a corrosive nature to it. I'm talking about good, clean, thick beats. And so when I read comments like Mega Mighty Electronics, that gets me really excited. Alexandra Digorska says, I've listened to the new Depeche Mode album, and I like it. All I can reveal for now. Andre Lafranchite said, deep, profound. Rockall said, we're listening to a great record. And then the promotions manager at Sony Music Italy said, what albums are able to give you goosebumps and to make you want to dance at first hearing #Depeche Mode. And again, this gets me so excited for this record, to the point where I'm scouring the internet hoping it gets leaked. I'm not advocating for downloading leaked music, but you and I both know that if it gets leaked, at least for me, I'm downloading it, but I'm also going to buy the digital version, and I'm also going to buy a hard copy of the CD, and probably just for posterity's sake, I'm getting the LP as well. So I think it's okay if it gets leaked and I want to listen, but it'll be our little secret. All right, let's talk a little bit about Anton's video. First viewing of the video for Where's the Revolution, I was watching it with my wife, and so I had a bit of a different lens on it, because when I'm watching something with my wife Melinda, I'm kind of half watching the video and I'm half watching her reaction. As Depeche Mode fans, most of us have gotten used to Anton Corbijn and what Anton Corbijn does, especially when Anton Corbijn is being Anton Corbijn. I don't mind Anton Corbijn being Anton Corbijn. I'm willing to look past the times when it gets a little weird, a little distant, and you kind of do okay, that was a weird choice. Be that as it may, it's Anton Corbijn, so I'm going to allow it to sort of sit with me and give it time before I make a final decision on it. So the first time I saw it with my wife Melinda, she was kind of meh. And I can understand why she's meh. She's a Depeche Mode fan, but she's much more of a casual Depeche Mode fan. She's not a hardcore fan like I am. And so she was fine with the band and the soapbox and the minimalist marchers taking place while Dave stands up there acting like a dictator. I think the part of the video that got lost on her was the train is coming moment when they're wearing the fake beards and they're doing the choo-choo arms. And even I was like, okay, Anton, you couldn't have done something with that, right? Now, I've watched the video a few times, and I actually do quite enjoy it. Anton is controversial for the band from the standpoint of, Depeche Mode makes music that could really lend itself to some amazing videos, and Anton going the black and white route, a lot of people I've heard argue didn't capitalize on making something that matched the music. But I also think that's the beauty of what Anton was doing, was that he was creating almost a dichotomy from what the song was to the visual part of it. And I appreciate that. And the one thing about the video that I really like was I like that it was black and white. And the moments when the color appears, whether it's the flags or whether it's Dave's jacket, it really, really pops. And I believe there's a moment with Martin's guitar. So I've watched the video several times now and really come around on it. And I actually like it better than most of the most recently released videos. Precious, I like Precious' video. I thought the video for Precious was really good. I know the band wasn't pleased with the video for Wrong, but I liked the video for Wrong. Hole to Feed's a monstrosity. We won't even talk about that. And Fragile Tension was just kind of, I thought Heaven was okay, but I did not really enjoy that song. That Heaven, to me, was one of the worst singles that they had released as a first single, and was my least favorite song off of Delta Machine. If they had put in a middle eighth in there, I would have enjoyed it more. But it just, again, didn't grab me the way that I had hoped. All right, let's move on. Speaking of videos, I have a confession I need to make. I have not purchased the video singles collection. Reason being is that when it was first released, I heard from a lot of people who said there were a lot of issues with the release in and of itself. The formatting of the videos, there were some problems with some mislabeling. Overall, from what I saw, the initial reviews of the video singles collection was that it was a disappointment. And I own most of these videos already in one way, shape, or form. However, because I've started the podcast and because I'm anticipating new Depeche Mode, if you're like me, when you kind of get into that Depeche mood, you gravitate towards the band. So I've just been listening to Depeche Mode nonstop as of late. And I went online and I brought up the details for the video singles collection and decided that I'm going to go ahead and purchase it. So I've gone and put in an order for it. Hopefully it arrives here in a few days. It's worth the money for me just to get the commentary from the band from the band members. I love the interviews with the band. It bums me out because I have a VHS copy of the electronic press kit for Exciter. And on that VHS tape that was included in it was this amazing interview with the band that I can't get anywhere else. And I don't own a VCR anymore. I have all the remastered discs that have all the interviews on them. Of course, the two different documentaries that are on Sounds of the Universe and that big box set, and I'll go back and watch those over and over and over again. The documentary on the original video singles collection that came out, back in 98, 99, that documentary is really good. One of my favorite documentaries is the DVD that was included in the Best of CD that came out in the early 2000s. That basically had the band commenting and playing snippets from all of the different videos throughout the compilation. Unfortunately, for some reason, my DVD stopped working. It won't play in any of my Blu-ray players, so I'm going to have to go and purchase another one. So the other thing about my desire now to get the video singles collection was the fact that I realized I didn't have a lot of the videos for Exciter, Playing the Angel, Sounds of the Universe, or of course Delta Machine. But I don't think, is Delta Machine on? I have to go and look. I'm pretty sure Heaven's on there. So I decided, you know what? I should be a completist. I own everything else of Depeche Mode. That's pretty much the only major Depeche Mode release that I have never purchased. So I went ahead and did the right thing. I'm hosting a podcast. I should own that and be able to talk to you about it in detail. So it is in the mail and hopefully will arrive very, very soon. All right, so here's the plan for the rest of episode 3 in this podcast. I want to get to sort of my topic of the podcast this week, and then we're going to go over some of the emails. I'm going to read back to you, share with you some of the emails that I've received from you, and thank you so much for downloading the podcast. The response has been amazing, and from what I've heard so far, and you'll hear in the emails coming up, my intention with this podcast was to talk about the band in not just my fandom, but what the band has meant to me. And so far, based off of the response that I've received from you, that's the vibe that you are getting, and that really, really makes me happy. But the topic for this week, and the reason why I labeled this week's podcast as, my personal therapist, was that Depeche Mode has been therapy for me. Continues to be therapy for me. Continues to be that thing in my life that I can go to when I can't talk to anybody else. That thing that I can go to in my life that can be there for me when there isn't anybody else that will understand what I'm dealing with. And when I need an outlet and I can't get it out, and there's a Depeche Mode song that I can, turn to, It provides me a level of comfort that no other artist out there can do. So what I decided to do was I made a bit of a list. And this will be part 1. I'll do part 2 on next week's podcast. But I really, really quickly basically lumped Depeche Mode's history into a couple of different categories as it relates to me. So I lumped it in as Depeche Mode when I was young, when I was medium, and when I was older. So what I'll do today is I'll go through a few of the songs from when I was young to when I was, growing up medium, right? And then next week on part 2, we'll go through some of the songs that had an effect on me when I was older. And one of the listeners to the podcast, whose name also happens to be John Justice, and has the same relationship with Depeche Mode as I do, which is just strange. Although he does spell it John. He took the time to go through the entire catalog and basically rate all the songs that he the songs that he likes in the order that he likes, from album to album to album. And it was really, really a lot of fun. And John, I so appreciate you taking the time to do that, because I can't tell you how much I enjoyed going through and seeing which songs you picked out and how it aligned with my views on certain Depeche Mode albums. But when you go back to Depeche Mode, the first Depeche Mode that I ever heard, and I talked about this on last week's podcast, Shake the Disease. Shake the Disease really kicked it off for me. Here you had a song that had a great chorus, had a darker vibe to it that I really hadn't heard, but then it was speaking to me, especially at an age when I was just discovering girls and what those feelings felt like. Again, Depeche Mode became that friend that would talk to me at a time of need when I was dealing with all of those emotions. But when you go back to, and I'm kind of going to go album by album by album and work through this rather quickly, but you go back to, say, Speak and Spell. The one song on that really sticks out to me that I will continue to go back to is Any Second Now. That song, sort of the nondescript love song, right? Lyrics don't make a whole lot of sense, but are open enough to interpretation. But at the same time, it's the vibe of that song, the lyrics in that song, it's still in one. It's high on the list of my favorite Depeche Mode songs. And when I kind of classify my favorite Depeche songs, it's a big list, but I kind of lump them into eras, and certainly among the era of Speak and Spell and A Broken Frame, Any Second Now still stands as a standout. Photograph of You, See You, right? These are all. Leave in Silence. Those were all, all of those songs spoke to me in a particular way and related to situations as I was growing up as a kid. Getting further into the catalog, you get to More Than a Party, and I remember it was right around the age when I began going out with my buddies on the weekends and going to house parties. I was listening to a bunch of Depeche at that point in time, and More Than a Party was like my discovering drinking anthem. It themed the party side of my life. Now, when you start to get into Some Great Reward, this is where the impact really, really begins to happen for me, the lyrics and the band itself. There are so many lyrically strong songs on that record, whether it's Lie to Me, Stories of Old, Somebody. If You Want is still a Friday go-to track on the drive home from work. Even being 44 and married with 2 kids, it still is one of those ones, working weeks come to its end, party time is here again. It changes, right? That definition of party changes as you get older, but be that as it may, it still has a lot of relevancy. And in probably my top 5 all-time favorite Depeche Mode songs, It Doesn't Matter. It Doesn't Matter. I still listen to weekly. That song is not even just in my top 5 Depeche Mode songs, but in my top 5 just love songs. I absolutely adore It Doesn't Matter. Now you move forward and you get into, and I'm going to kind of skip around here a bit, but you get into Black Celebration, and what song on Black Celebration do you not mention, right? Maybe Princess Di, New Dress, right? Maybe New Dress is one you kind of go, political statement. And I like the song, don't get me wrong, but Black Celebration, Fly on the Windscreen, Stripped. Just the list goes on that record. I mean, that's the one that was the big one. And